What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the Whiskey Shed. My name is John McGrath and this is my YouTube channel, the Whiskey Shed, where I drink whiskey in my shed. And as a novice, a kind of whiskey drinker, Irishman, I take a journey through the world of whiskey. That's kind of what we're doing here. So without further ado, I'm really looking forward to this one. So let's jump in and have a look. Okay, let's jump in and look at this whiskey. Now, this is one I'm really looking forward to. Like I've said, this is the Powers John's Lane 12-year-old whiskey. Now, this is kind of a part two. I've done the Powers Gold Label, which is the budget whiskey, in the last video. So I'm kind of doing two videos in the one night on this stormy, rainy night. And this one I've been really looking forward to. This one has won loads of awards and it's got some fantastic reviews. I've not tasted it yet, so this is going to be my first nosing and tasting of this whiskey. Now, I went into the history of Powers in the previous video, so if you want to go back and watch that, check out the history, feel free to do so. I'll link it up here. But just to give you a quick rundown, James Power founded Powers Whiskey in 1791 in Thomas Street in Dublin. They then moved to John's Lane, which is what this whiskey is called after, where they had the biggest distillery, they had the biggest pot still in the world there, and they were producing about 300,000 gallons of whiskey a year, all single pot still whiskey, pure pot still whiskey. And all Irish whiskies, the whole Irish whiskey story is really a boom to bust to boom again, and it's the same with Powers. This again is produced, I didn't say that in the last video, it's produced in the Middleton distillery in Cork. So because of historical reasons, the famine, civil war, the war of independence, the World War, the Second World War, troubles with Britain, the whole lot, the Irish whiskey industry collapsed. It was the biggest producer of whiskey in the world, and we had some of the finest whiskey on planet Earth, but the market share really dropped, and again, like the events of history, almost killed it off. By 1970s, Jameson shut down their plant in Dublin, Power shut down their plant, so Jameson and John Power, Cork distillers, got together, they formed the Irish Distillers. They are now all in Middleton in Cork. It's now owned by Pernod Ricard, which is a French company, but everything is still done in Ireland, and it's all consolidated to the Middleton distillery, and it's really booming and growing, and Irish distillers are opening up all over the country. So it's an absolutely fantastic time to be a fan of Irish whiskey right now, because Irish whiskey is really back with a bang. And the whole point of this, I suppose, is to get back to that John's Lane in Dublin, to the original pure pot still Irish whiskey that Powers used to produce. So try and capture that in a bottle, and that's what they're trying to do here. So let's look at this whiskey. Okay, so before we actually jump in and taste the whiskey, I should say a little bit about the packaging, about the bottle. So Powers have really rebranded everything and changed the bottle and changed the look. They really want to get away from the idea that it was an old man's whiskey. I went through all that in the last video, so be sure and go back and check that there. That's certainly not an old man's whiskey, and it's a fantastic budget whiskey. It's aged 5 to 7 years. That's another piece of information I didn't give you in this one. But this one is a single pure pot still whiskey, 12 years old, aged in American oak and Oloroso sherry casks, I believe, and I'm really excited to try it because it has won multiple awards. But you can see the new bottle with the P logo on it, and again, that diamond with the P, that's one of the first ever registered trademarks in Ireland, and it is the original symbol for Power. So they've gone back in time to go forward in time. I really like how they've gone back to their heritage to take this forward into the future, and the bottle then is inspired by the pot still itself, so that's why they've changed it. And I have to say, I quite like the new bottles, and I really like the new labels as well. So let's get this in the glass and taste it. Okay, let's get a nose of this whiskey, and I'm really looking forward to this because I've heard so many good things about it. So yeah, it's kind of a golden amber colour. Again, it's a 12-year-old whiskey, aged in American oak, and I believe finished in Oloroso sherry casks, and it is that single pot still quintessential mark of Irish whiskey. So yeah, straight away you're getting that fruit. I'm getting apple and maybe some pears. There's some bacon spices, even a hint of it's kind of like leather, a little bit of leather I'm getting. That's the first time I smelled some leather in whiskey, but it's quite nice. It's yeah, it's kind of it's unusual one. So cinnamon is definitely in there. There's dried spices and definitely some darker fruits, some of those dried fruits like that you get in that kind of Christmas cake I told you before, but not like redbreast. This is not like redbreast. It's not as deep and as dark as redbreast. It's not like green spot. It has a bit of both maybe. Yeah, there's definitely some leather in there. I'm definitely getting leather, and in a good way. It sounds strange, but it's there, but in a nice way. So there's kind of apples and pears and cinnamon, and there's a perfume to it, almost maybe a bit of honey. Yeah, that is really nice. That is, I can see why this won awards. That's really nice on the nose. Let's get a taste of it. Okay, there's a lot going on there. Let me have another sip of that. Okay, there's vanilla. I'm getting some honey. I'm getting some those bacon spices. It's 46 ABV and it's non-chill filtered, so it's a little bit higher percentage. You can kind of taste that. It's some leatheriness in there. There's a fruitiness. I'm getting apples and pears and vanilla. Again, some of that dark dried fruits. It's a little bit more oily. It's definitely coating the tongue a bit more. You can feel it. It has a good long finish to it. Dried spices, it's still going. Maybe some cloves, some cinnamon in there. There's a lot going on with this. I'm not sure I'm going to pick it all out, but it's going and going and going, and it's lingering on the tongue. You can even feel the alcohol in the back of the throat. Yeah, this is a nice whiskey. This is possibly one of the nicest whiskies I've tried so far in my limited experience. My experience is not very big now, so take that for what it's worth, but I can see why this won awards. I paid just over 60 euros for this. I've seen it between 60 and 70 euros. I'm not sure in the United States. I think somewhere just above $50, maybe the mid 50s, something like that. The Powers is in around the $20 mark here, so it's 22 euros here. I think somewhere between $20, $25. But this is a big step up. And it is that signature Irish whiskey, that single pot still, pure pot still Irish whiskey, which is all done on the pot still, and it's a mix of malted and unmalted barley, and it's completely unique to Ireland. Although I believe there is an American distillery that has just opened up, a small kind of craft distillery in America who's doing pot still whiskey, pure pot still whiskey as well, with the malted and unmalted barley. But you can definitely get that in here. It's the spiciness. I'm getting some vanilla now. I'm not picking up much of the sherry cask. If it is finished in sherry cask, I'm not getting too much of that, but it's definitely, there's a spice, there's a fruitiness to it, there's apples, there's pears. There's a lot going on with this whiskey. I think the 46% really helps it. It has a strong flavour to it. Yeah, very, very nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it sit again for a few minutes, like I always do, and come back to it and see what happens with this one. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to put a little bit more in it and then let it sit, because that's quite nice. There we go. We'll let that one sit. Okay, so now that we've let it sit in our a glass on its side for a while, let the air at it, let's see what's happened. So, on the nose, yeah, it's definitely opened up. I can get more of even that leather now. Leather is a strange one. I know it sounds strange to have leather in your whiskey, but it's a nice smell. I can't describe it any other way than it's kind of a nice leather kind of smell. I'm not sure what gives it its leather smell, so if you know, be sure and let me know in the comments. But there's even some lemon now to the forefront there, I'm finding. It doesn't have those strong baking spices like redbreast does. It's definitely, I think, a bit more floral, a bit more fruity, but not quite like Green Spot. It is certainly a different whiskey. Even though they all come from the same place, this is something different. Really nice. It's lemon, there's some honey there, some leather, maybe some cloves. something like that. So it's changed a small bit, and on the palate. So now I'm getting cloves, definitely cloves. Some cinnamon maybe. There's lemon and honey again, vanilla. There's a lot going on with this one, and that 46% I think is just right. It's really nice. It's a little bit, I think, more coating on the tongue than the standard Powers, I find. It definitely lingers. It's got finish, this one. It goes on and on and on, and it changes. Maybe a little, even, I'm kind of getting a little pepperiness. Now, I did just have some of that, and you definitely get white pepper from the Powers gold label. So this is definitely the finer brother, I have to say, of this one. Definitely in the same family. You can kind of get that, especially when you do A-B comparisons. When you taste one whiskey after another, you can really see how you can compare and contrast them. But they're definitely the same family, but this is on a different level. Yeah, there's a lot going on with this whiskey. It's really, really nice. I can see why it won loads of awards, and I'm at my best to taste and knows everything. I am a bit of a whiskey novice, so I'm doing my best to describe to you guys, but I really, really like it. That's all I can say to you. That is very, very nice. I would definitely recommend that. That's worth a try, I think, if you want to get a pure pot still Irish whiskey. That's different to Redbreast, and again, it's different to Green Spot. That one has character, and that one has finish. It has legs. It goes on. It has a bit of punch to it. Yeah, very, very nice. That's lovely. So there you go, guys. That has been my opinion on Powers John's Lane 12-year-old single pot still whiskey. It's an attempt to get back to John's Lane in the 1800s and capture that classic pure pot still Irish whiskey that was been produced by John Power and Son there back when Irish whiskey was at its height in the 1800s, and it's back to its height again today, which is absolutely brilliant. So this is a really fine whiskey. That is really, really nice, and I think whether it captures the original or not, we will never know. But I have to say, what they've produced there is actually a really nice whiskey. So what I'd say to you guys is definitely try that one out. Definitely have that one. So you can give everybody a taste of this one and then let them drink that one and keep this one for yourself. That's what I would do anyway, because they're both two nice whiskies, and at 22 euros and between 60 and 70 euros, it's a big step up, and that's a fine whiskey. I can see why it won all those awards that it's won, and I've seen a bunch of reviews on it, and everybody seems to wax lyrical about it. They seem to really be blown away by it. So I suppose at 60 to 70 euros, that's probably a really good value, pure pot still Irish whiskey as well. And that'll probably go up in price, I'd say. But there you go, guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed that one. If you're new here, think about subscribing. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you think I've missed anything, or if there's any information I'm not sure of, get it in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite whiskey is. Let me know what you want to see me talk about next, and I'll try my best to get my hands on a bottle of your favorite whiskey as well. So we'll finish on a toast, as we always do, and this toast, another Irish toast. So may you live a long life and a merry one, have a quick death and an easy one, meet a fine girl and an honest one, and have a good whiskey and another one. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Sláinte. Take it easy. Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's good.